This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Dear Chair, panel, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Acheng Peace, and I am going to do a simple task of cross-examining Team Affirmative. Team Affirmative, supposing I give you 150,000 right now, would you manage it properly?
Yes.
Okay. You have heard about New York City. What did it sound like?
Pardon?
You heard about New York City. What did it sound like to you?
It sounds like a city that has used its resources very well.
Okay. Then why must cities be created anyway? Why must cities be created?
Cities must be created, number one, to bring development.
Okay, thank you.
An area.
Did you say Kampala is faced with about 4 million slums?
Yeah.
Did you also say that you want to use economic resourcefulness as a means of achieving sustainable development?
Indeed.
Okay. Good infrastructure is manifested in every city. Is that true?
Yes.
That is true. What is the credibility of your standard?
To have a better resource being used in a city.
That is the credibility of your standard?
Yeah.
Do you even understand a standard anyway?
Pardon?
Do you really understand a standard anyway?
Yeah.
Do you bear the image of a city?
Yes.
What would you do to make a city arise right now if you're given the opportunity?
I would make sure the resources already existing in the city is appropriately used.
And how would you make sure those resources are existing?
Number one, I need innovation and machines to make sure I use the resources very well.
Thank you, Speaker. My dear Speaker, did your second speaker say that infrastructure does not come about without economic resourcefulness?
It's a lie.
He did say that, yes?
It didn't.
All right. Did he also mention that sustainable economic growth or urban development in your side is through agriculture?
No.
Please take your seat. All right. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the chair, as I summarize in this round that has been very confusing to Team Affirmative, before I go back to the questions that I get mostly fallacies from their response, is that they fail right away from the contextualization of the debate. So I asked Team Affirmative through the fourth speaker that, supposing I give you 150,000 right now, would you manage it properly? And he said yes. That is economic resourcefulness, the ability to manage your resources. Should I make you a city now? Obviously, no. It doesn't mean because you can manage the resources, you have to become a city. That is why Team Negative presents a better policy before you become a city, before you even start to imagine about managing your resources. Do you have those resources anyway? If you have the resources, what is the quality of the resources you're managing? She gave you an illustration of people who live along lakes. Don't they have resources? They're using their resources very well. No, they haven't. Dear panel, I also asked them that, have they heard about New York City? And he said yes. I asked that, what does it look like? He wasn't able to imagine that properly. New York City is an infrastructurally developed city that has good roads, that has everything, and that has been the standard that has been existing in the case of Team Negative. I also asked that, and he agreed that their side said that they about 4 million slums. Those 4 million slums, dear panel, ladies and gentlemen, a place that has about 4 million slums has poor infrastructure. Therefore, we cannot take that standard. We have to take the standard of infrastructure. If we are given a place that has 4 million slums and a place that has very good storage buildings, we would make that storage building a city. That is the difference that Team Affirmative fails to get in tonight's debate. I rest my case.
Panel and the house at large. My name is Ogwang Daniel from Team Affirmative Comboni College. Can a development of a city be sustained without economic resourcefulness?
Of course it can't.
Do you agree that economic resourcefulness addresses poverty in cities?
Economic
yes
resourcefulness.
Or no?
No, you can't ask me
yes or no.
You asked me, so I have to
Are
show you.
cities created without standard economic resourcefulness, practicing it now?
Economic resourcefulness
yes or
comes
no.
when they have
yes
the
or no. Where economic resourcefulness integrated in cities, in creation of cities previously?
After they had the infrastructure.
Yes or no. Infrastructures comes with resource presence. Yes or no?
That is why we want infrastructure.
Environmental impacts using resources in creation of cities can be resolved. Yes or no?
By building
Yes
good
or no?
infrastructure.
Do you love staying in a city littered with waste?
Of course,
Yes
no.
or no?
Not really.
Will your economy not backfire in the future?
It won't if
Yes
it has
or
goods.
no?
Let me answer you properly.
Yes or no?
Then this is not cross-examination.
Without economic resourcefulness, can you have a sustainable city?
Yes, of course.
Can't you address poverty with economic resourcefulness?
Those are two different things.
Can't a low quality resource be of value when used?
Of course, yes.
Can't I invest in 150,000 to improve my life?
That doesn't make you become a city.
Dear panel and the House at large, in tonight's debate as Team Affirmative, we feel like we win this debate because I asked the first speaker from Team Negative that, can I invest in 150,000 to improve my life? This is bringing us to resources that we already have existing in the areas, that we can improve on them to bring us to a better city that is sustainable, that will never die, that will never take us back. Panel, this is the reason as to why Kampala right now has gone back to begin managing waste. Why? They did not see that waste could be managed when they were creating the cities. Panel, I also asked her that, do you love staying in a city littered with waste? Panel, she said no. But then we see that their second speaker came here and told us that waste management is not considered when creating a city, but there is other factor like infrastructure. But panel, why is Kampala right now standing up to address the issues of waste? Panel, we see that it is so crucial. This makes Team Affirmative to win tonight's debate. Not only that, I asked her, can development of a city be sustained without economic resourcefulness? And they define us very clearly that economic resourcefulness is how we use the resources that are already existing in an effective way. Panel, we see that this now becomes a very crucial point, that we need to use the resources to bring us to a better development of a city that will be sustainable, that will never let us down anymore, like the way Kampala is doing it right now and Mbarara. Not only that, I asked her, are cities created without standard economic resourcefulness practicing it now? She said yes. Yes, panel. We see that it is now Kampala and Mbarara that has come on board to stand and begin managing waste that they had failed to address it those days. Panel, we see that now resources now comes in to help us in addressing these challenges. Not only that, I asked her, where economic resourcefulness integrated? Panel, allow me to rest my case, but Team Affirmative wins.
So thank you for the wonderful debate. Now, the resolution that we had before us today had economic resourcefulness. Should be the standard for creation of cities. We have a Team Affirmative that gives us that economic resourcefulness should be the standard. We have a Team Negative that comes up and tells us, no, it should be economic resourcefulness. However, it should be infrastructure. Now, Team Affirmative, you begin with your definition of economic resourcefulness. You define economic resourcefulness according to you. Quote me right, according to you, as the ability for one to exhaust the resources. That is according to first speaker, by the way. The ability, first and second, the ability to exhaust resources and use them exhaustively, right? That is first and second. Now, in the third and the fourth speaker's speech, now I start to hear economic resourcefulness is rather availability of resources. You understand? There is a difference between capability. You impliedly say it, not expressly. However, in the way you say your words, you end up meaning availability of resources. That is why you see third speaker pointing out those contradictions. Now moving on. Team Negative comes up and tells us that, you know what, at the end of the day, it should be the economic resourcefulness. However, it should be the infrastructure. Now, you come up and you give us various various standards as to why you think it should be infrastructure. You mentioned urban development, you mentioned high levels of investment, quality of life, foundation of growth. Now, the other thing I would like to point out, you've listened to their points of arguments that they give you as team affirmative. Now, as team negative, what this resolution required was for each team to point out what standard they think. It was not for you to point out the standard, and then what team affirmative you do is that you bring your points of arguments in the angle of benefits of using what? Of using economic resourcefulness as a standard, rather than actually showing us that we should use economic resourcefulness as a standard. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, that is why you see that third affirmer tells you that third negator tells you that you people are actually debating. Personally, for me, I actually told these people, are these people debating on the same plane? It's like you are all on different planes. However, you all zero down to what? To, let's say, economic resourcefulness as whatever standard that you were bringing up. Now, team negative, team affirmative, you cannot come up and say that you are negating a city's qualification as it because it has a waste management company. You understand that? You cannot come up and say that just because Kampala, capital city, has KCCA that manages its wastes, then that entirely negates its what? Its being a city. Doesn't Gulu City have a waste management? Doesn't Mbarara have a waste management authority? All these cities have waste management authorities. Is that going to negate its whatever? Its quality as a city? No.
Now, this is the issue. Let me just try to help you what they mean by economic resourcefulness. You know, better you had a good definition from the start, because now economic resourcefulness is just looking at the ability of individuals, businesses, states to effectively utilize the available resources. But however, economic resourcefulness even goes, one of the major elements of economic resourcefulness, as you talked about, was something to do with good innovation, which is really right. But then also one of it is also in the perspective of what they call adaptability. So, what about in the circumstance that even the resources are no longer there? Is the person, is the individual, is the state, is that city, before we call it a city, able to adopt to the current status quo for it to still utilize its resources, even if we have extinction, or even if we have circumstances of extinction? Is it able to come up with different alternatives so that it is able to push on along the way? Are we together? So, you started so well as team affirmative. But now let me just ask, okay, to you, were you able to know why they asked you the question of, I think it was the 150,000 shillings, that does you having 150,000 shillings that you can use qualify you to be a city? Simply because you had started very well and you had limited the case of team negative. You're telling them no, for us what we are looking at, which was even very good to be telling them that no, at the end of the day, the infrastructure you're talking about, if we don't have effective utilization of the resources, because it is the effective utilization of the resources that is going to give birth to the good infrastructure. Now, when you open now into the availability of the resources, that's why they begin asking, okay, now, because they say, okay, economic resourcefulness is everywhere. But now if economic resourcefulness is everywhere, does it now amount it to be a city? Okay, if you have 150,000, does that qualify you to be a city? Are we together? So now that's why for them they now begin even talking about the issues of things like the New York City and all that. So next time take your stand. Don't contradict with what you started with. You had a very good case from the start, which was economic resourcefulness. We are looking at effective utilization of resources. But then along the way, you now begin debating about availability of resources. So now they ask, okay, does it amount that whoever has the resources, even without looking at the benefit of the resources, even without looking at the utilization of the resources, we should now just give you the title of you being a city? Is that okay? Is that okay? So now that one is in comparison with now a person who is telling you that now let us look at the quality of life. I also thought I do somewhere. You talked about Article 179. Article 179 is to do with local governments. It is not with the minimum standard of becoming a city. It is to do with the minimum standard of it becoming a municipality or a local council, but not a city. Is that okay? Yeah. So it was just that, but it was really a good round. That's why you see for me, if you look at the marks I gave both teams, they're not bad, they're really good marks. It was good style, a good spirited round. And then also, Now that you have been, this was a value. Okay, of course, it was also a debate that I would not fault one point of time, even if a team argued it as policy. Now, the resolution, as Judge Doreen said, it was looking at standard. So now for them that have given you the standard, they are looking at, no, we are looking at the standard of the quality of life, we are looking at the population that we are having, we are looking at the infrastructure. Now, even you are meant to give them the standard of economic resourcefulness. I'm talking to you affirmative. You are meant to give them the standard of economic resourcefulness. Tell them that, yes, because you are telling them that, okay, even if every person can have economic resourcefulness, what are we looking at? At which standard of economic resourcefulness are you?
Farmers, the first farmer started this debate fairly well when he pictured and painted that we are talking about municipalities that are going to turn into cities, right? However, the rest of the team deviates from that argument, and that is why the negative team keeps on tricking you to say, so as long as you can have resourcefulness anywhere, we will make you a city. That's why they even say if you have 150,000 and you can economically, resourcefully use that 150,000, does that make you a city? So the rest of the speakers fail to maintain the position the first farmer has established us to start from. And coherency, like we said yesterday, is paramount in the debate. You ought to have maintained places that are vying to be a city, municipalities that are vying to be a city. And then this debate would be of their economic resourcefulness and of their infrastructure development. What should we consider to make them a city? Secondly, also, it was not strategically correct for the first farmer to deal with waste management, especially when you're arguing for resourcefulness. Because why is the connection between being resourceful and managing waste? Really, it is, if you are to look at it from a different perspective, it would suffice better in a person who is in an argument of infrastructure, that because you have good drainage, good water, then you're probably going to manage your waste properly. So I felt like waste management was really, really a weak link to your case. You could have selected places where you're strong for resourcefulness. I gave both of you 15 for style. I gave 22 for content to the affirmative and 23 to the negative team. I gave 23 to the affirmative for strategy and 24 to the negative team, making it 60 for the affirmative team and 62 for the negative team. It is a unanimous decision that the negative team wins today's debate.